Hi guys, it's Mark coming at you with this month's Wine of the Month Club recipe from our very own Sattui kitchen. Now today's recipe is going to be the perfect pairing with our 2019 Rosato di Pinot Noir, and one of my personal favorite wines for this time of year when the weather's starting to get nice and hot again. We're getting into those outdoor parties. So being fairly low in residual sugars, it's really nice and crisp with acidities. And so fruitiness is totally an amazing thing to have in a nice dry rosé, but losing those sweetnesses. So today's recipe is going to be my chili orange pork skewers. It all starts by grabbing some really good high quality pork, and I chose pork tenderloin, but really any nice tender cut. What you don't want is like a stew cut, like a pork shoulder or a butt here. And we're going to make about 1-inch cubes with this. So today I'm going to be showing you the stovetop method to this, which anybody can pull off at home, of course. All right, now we've got our pork into that nice 1-inch dice. You can use a little olive oil or vegetable oil, grapeseed oil, but it's going to be about a 1/4 cup or just enough to the eye to where you know that you've got enough in here to really thoroughly coat your pork. We're going to do nice sea salt, heavy pinch. Pinch is relative in my world. And a few twists from the pepper grinder. I mean, not too much pepper in this recipe because we are going to be using some spice in other forms. And the first thing that's going to be added to the pork and the oil and salt and pepper is these, which are nice, which you can find. They'll be labeled simply as New Mexico or is it a Californian dried chili. And sometimes they might have a little bit of moisture or bend left in them. And if that's the case, you can do what I did today, which is just to put them into a nice oven-proof saute pan. I put it into a 300-degree oven. It was only about 10 minutes, and now they're nice and brittle and dry and crispy. So I selected like the best 4 that I thought was out of there. Now, when you crack them in half, and what you can hear in there is all those seeds. So we just wanted to make sure we get the majority of those out. We're gonna be getting spice in some other ways too, like I said. So get these all cracked in half and the majority of the seeds out. Of course, it is okay if a couple escape. And you can break off the little stem ends so that all we're left with is just the nice meat of those chilies. And then this is always kind of fun part. You can get your kids involved if they want to be, but just grab them in your hands and crush it up. It smells so good. I love the smell of dried chilies like this. And it's on to some fresh herbs. And today, in this recipe, we're gonna be using some fresh rosemary and some fresh thyme as well. And thyme being my personal favorite of all herbs. Now, rosemary is the easy one. It always wants to come off the stem fantastically easy just by pulling it backwards for the most part. Thyme is a little bit of a different story. Unlike rosemary, where you kind of go backwards to strip it, a lot of the times it'll come off a lot cleaner and with less stem if you go forward, and just by putting some light pressure in between your fingertips, and you can strip that absolutely clean. And this is about 3 tablespoons each on this fresh thyme and fresh rosemary. Gather it into a nice pile and work our knife through this till we get a good mincing upon all of these herbs. Don't want too many big chunks, but again, having a little bit of diversity actually in the size and the chop, some irregularity, lends layers to the dish. And into the marinade, as it were. And now, one of the more fun ingredients. And this ingredient is here for one massive reason, and that's to really just make the fruitiness of this wine explode. And that's orange marmalade. And we're gonna be going in with about 4 tablespoons, and roughly translated, that's gonna be around a 1/4 cup. I actually, well, who am I kidding? I like to go a little bit more. I think the more flavor, the better in this case. And same amount of red wine vinegar. And we're gonna work all the ingredients together. Now, this recipe is best to let this sit at this point, at least for a couple hours in your fridge. If not, and I think the best thing ever is overnight, and that's just gonna let this chili rehydrate a little bit. It's going to start soaking up all the flavors of that orange marmalade, the vinegar, and letting that salt start tenderizing along with the vinegar, this meat as well. So into the fridge we go. So now that we've had at least a few hours for those to soak in the fridge, it's time to get the rest of the dish prepared. And we're gonna be taking some poblanos, or you could also use pasilla pepper. And we're gonna want to just have a nice, again, like kind of a 1-inch dice, the same size as that pork, but we're not gonna want any of the stems or even those ribs. They have a little bit too much spiciness, which would overpower the wine in particular. So I just take the tops off and that bottom piece off as well. And easiest way to do this is just to go straight down the middle, and you'll see what you're got inside, of course, is the main part, which you can just pull out with your hand with a collection of most of the seeds attached to it. And then you're gonna have your two halves with these kind of veins or ribs, as they call them. And it's easy enough. Just flatten it out a bit with your knife and run the knife down until you skin out all of those ribs. And it's gonna take, well, depending upon the size, of course, of the peppers that you come home with, about 3 to 4 of these for the amount of pork that we're going for. Sometimes you get lucky, there's a side with no rib. All the ribs are on this side. All right, and now on to just getting some nice, nothing has to be too precise, and it actually is quite hard to make anything precise, as of course the peppers aren't exactly shaped perfectly the way that you'd love them to be, but you get the rough idea. Something like a 1-inch dice is what we're looking for. Now these specific kinds of peppers have a wonderful sweet and smoky flavor to them as they grill, or just even as they're cooking in a regular old oven. All right, so now that we've got our poblanos into our dice, time to grab the meat from the fridge. Oh man, you can really see that the color has penetrated and all these flavors, and the herbs and the aromatics along with that sweetness in the background smells so good. But if you're a guy like me, I actually kind of like to go more rustic. And these are bamboo. You can get them at just about any kind of cooking store, grocery store actually, and soak them in water overnight or just for a couple hours. That keeps them from burning up too bad if you're gonna go over the direct flame. And at this point, you're gonna either wanna have your barbecue outside, set on like a medium high heat, or your coals at a medium level, or have your grill pan, like I'm gonna be doing today, nice and ripping hot. So have that on high and kind of waiting for you as you're about to put these skewers together. And simply enough, we're gonna alternate pork with 2 to 3 pieces of these poblano chilies. All right. Now that we've got a few of these prepared, let's get them into the grill pan. So nice and smoking hot. We know that it's talking to us. Let's get these beauties in here. And I'll spoon just a little bit of that marinade over the top. Oh, how good do those look already, you guys? And we just got started. Now, after you've got some nice char marks on this one side and we flip them, let's go ahead and throw them into about a 425-degree oven for approximately 5 to 10 minutes, you guys. All right. Woo, man. The combination of smells right now are so amazing, you guys. Now, when it comes to plate up, you've got a myriad of choices. So one of my favorites, just to put a big platter of these out just on their own. They are so flavorful, so fresh, so delicious, and perfect kind of finger food, maybe before the main event of the night, food-wise, to pair with this Rosato. But one of my kind of favorite ways to do it is really simple yet effective. So taking some nice roasted corn tortillas, I'm gonna spoon just a little black bean into each. So you can serve them, I think it's pretty fancy to leave them on the skewer, just like this, and maybe serve that to your guests. And all you have to do, just to pull these right off the skewer and have a fantastic bite ready to go. What a perfect pairing. See you guys next time from the Sattui kitchen. Cheers.